Hey everyone, and welcome back to Steve Does That. On today's episode, we are going to be doing something pretty freaking cool. Today we're going to be making a cast resin, polyester casting resin, permanent cast preservation. Wrap your head around that. Okay, so these are, not this, these are polyester casting resin cast permanent cast. Polyester casting resin, permanent cast preservations. It's a long sentence. So, basically, this material, this glass-like material, is polyester casting resin. And when it cures clear like glass. And you can put absolutely anything in it, and it will permanently preserve it in time. Forever. Can I get a that's awesome? Like, this is amazing. You can do anything. You can do insects. You can do plants. I have multiple plants right here. These are some little lilies. That's pretty nice. It casts pretty much almost perfectly clear. You can wipe it off. These have actually been sitting for a while, so they have a little dust on them. And once you get it to cure, if you get a good technique down, you can get them to center pretty well. There we go. Actually looks really nice in the end. Alrighty, so what we're going to need is a container, like such. Now, the container you choose is dependent on the material. The material of this container is durable. It's a durable plastic, very strong, not likely to break too much under too much stress. There we go. So it's durable to a certain point to where it's still malleable, to where you can still bend it and push it just a little bit. See what I'm saying? As I work this here, yeah. And so it's durable, but it will bend. Now that's very important because when you cast these, you cast them in containers, obviously. But when you cast them, sometimes they like to stick to the inside of the container instead of just smoothly sliding out like some would think because of this material. And so you want to be able to just kind of like slightly pop. Just pop it, really. Pop it to where it just falls, boop, falls right out. And so, along with that, what you're going to need is, of course, the polyester casting resin itself. Now, I get this polyester casting resin from Amazon. This is like 32 ounces. I think I get it for, man, I actually bought it a while ago, so I can't remember exactly how much I got it for. I can probably check that later. But, yeah. And so, it comes with, obviously, the main body, the casting resin itself, and this curant. So what happens is when you pour this into your container, or also the cap that comes with is very durable. It's very, very malleable. So you can use this as a container as well if you make it thicker or you just really don't feel like going to buy a new container. So you pour this into your container, and then depending upon the amount you pour in the container, you put a droplet of this. Now this is a catalyst. This is curing catalyst. So what this does is it reacts with the polyester casting resin itself to heat it up, and that heat is what cures it into a solid and makes it into this glass material, as you see. And so you'll have this, you have the casting resin, you'll have the catalyst, the container, and as a recommended additive, I would recommend getting something like a toothpick or something clear, or something that you wouldn't mind being able to stick into the casting resin while it's curing. Because also, this could also help with pulling it out of the container. As you can see with this one, you can see the small hole here. All I did was, as it was casting, it casted like this. As it was casting, I just simply put a straw, poked the straw down in there, and let it finish curing. Cured all the way, and all I did was pull the straw right out. Left this nice hole. It actually left this really cool looking glass cylinder piece material, glass cylinder shaped material that was like completely clear. It was actually really nice looking. And then even if you want to make like a pendant or maybe like something that can go on a necklace, then you can just place it nicely in the middle, or if you have a shape in mind, you put it somewhere. but something along those lines to where you can easily just pull it straight out, and then you'd have something to attach a necklace or a string or a chain or a rope to, and add it onto something. I actually used to wear these in my backpack. And so that will also help in pulling it out. It is not necessary 100%, because obviously if you get a container that you can just easily just shift its walls a little bit to get it out, make it really easy. So off we go. We got everything we need. Now all we need is something to cast. Let's go with a plant. Plants it is. Okay, so we're gonna get some plants. Just something nice that'll look really nice in a cast. We already have one, so we want a background piece. So let's go with this one. Nice. Alright, so next what you want to do is you want to figure out how you want the placement of these plants to go. And it's very important because when it comes to casting this stuff, it does take multiple levels if you have a specific setup in mind. So for this one, all I want is the leaf to be on the bottom and the flower to sit on top of it. Kind of like that. Now, it's not going to sit exactly like that. It's going to more sit hovering over it, like so. Almost like this. So if we turn it this way, we move the camera. There you go. Kind of like that. And you'll see how it works out in the end. Now, if you look at the back of the bottle, if you were to go and get some, it shows you approximately how much of each need to be applied. So for each certain amount of the casting resin depends or will determine how many droplets of catalyst you need per amount, which is ounces of resin. Got it? Cool. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to start off by removing the cap. Now, I extremely strongly recommend you do this outside because the casting resin does have a very pungent smell. I'm going to start by removing the cap. There is a safety cap on the inside. Take the cap off. Now, careful because this stuff sucks sometimes. So you want to dispose of the cap in maybe like a trash bag real quick. Now, if you were here, you'd immediately smell it. It's very pungent. A lot of it. Now, all you're going to do is you're going to pour whatever amount you need into something other than your container. So I'm not going to pour it directly into my container here. I'm going to pour it into... Okay, so we're going to pour it in this little container here. Now, mind you, you do not want to pour all of what you expect is going to be into this container. So what we're going to be doing here is, because we want this leaf to be at the very bottom, we want to be very, very, very at the bottom, but not touching the bottom. And then we want this little flower type looking thing here, which looks really cool, to be hovering over it in a nice design type fashion. What we're going to do is you're going to fill the level up to the bottom right here to where you would expect the flower the leaf would be. Then you wait 30 minutes. Now 30 minutes is the time it takes for it to gel. Now gelling is where the casting resin has cured to a point to where it will not wiggle or move as though it was a liquid. It'll turn to something like jelly, like a jello type deal. But it is still liquid enough to where it'll still mold or still conform with the extra layers you're going to be putting on top. So you're going to fill it up different levels at different times. So it takes about 30 minutes for it to cure that long. Luckily, you don't have to wait that long. Alright, so now that you've poured it into your container, that's not your final container, you're just going to drop a couple of drops in there. So there you go. You got like 4, maybe one more. There we go. Drops, little droplets. And then you're going to close it off really quickly. Alright, and so all you're going to do is you're going to stir it. So you want to stir it until you got a lot of bubbles. Bubbles are very good. You want a lot of bubbles. And you want to let it turn color just a tiny bit. You might not even be able to notice as long as you got a lot of bubbles. Now I want to say the recommended time is you stir it for about 30 minutes to 30 seconds to a minute. Caught me off guard there. 30 seconds to a minute. And then once you've let it sit for just a second, let it go, stir, stir, stir. And then you tap the little thing there, find a good place for it to sit, like on a piece of plastic, not on your table. And then wipe off whatever gets on your finger. That doesn't feel good. And you're just gonna go ahead and pour that into your actual container. Make sure in the container you're pouring it from. Biggest thing, do not use a container that you wish to keep or wish to use for something else that you would not like cured polyester casting resin in. Because since you've stirred this, put the resin in, put the catalyst in it, and you have left over, just because it's a tiny bit does not mean it will not cure. So this resin that's inside, that's left as like a tiny coat inside this little glass jar, will cure as polyester cast resin. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that kind of sits real nice. Maybe move your table a little bit. And so you're going to let that sit. Now, reason you let that level by itself sit is because you do not want your item to be sitting on the very bottom of the final cast. You have a full 30 minutes before that gels. And even if it gels, you can still put the leaf on there and then fill another layer and then let that chill and gel, and then put another layer, put your next item, and then put a small layer on top to finish it off. Always put the cap back on your resin though. Always remember that. Cap back on resin. Cap backs on resin. Cap backs on resin. Now, we're going to let this sit for 30 minutes before we put the leaf on there. And then we're going to put more in there, and we're going to let that sit before we put the flower thing on there. So we're going to let it. Alrighty. So as you can see, if you look real close there, almost all the bubbles are done popping. Now the bubbles are popping because they're filled with air, and the air expands very quickly as a gas. So now that we've just about cleared all of the air bubbles out, we're just going to go ahead and drop our leaf in there. Now, I recommend using some tweezers or something other than your fingers, because just in case you don't place it right, you can pick it up, but I wouldn't recommend picking it up with your hands. That's all. So you can just easily place it right in the middle. And there you go. Alrighty. So once you wait the full, 15 to 30 minutes, you let it sit. As you can tell, it's not going to move anymore. You go ahead and you start on level 2. Alright, so once you've finished mixing your next level, you just simply pour it in all nice and smooth like. You want to kind of pour it around the flower or the item as much as you can so that it tries to get up underneath it. And you want to fill it to just the right level. Now also, if you look at it, the way I want this to be captured is I want this to be sitting above this. Look at that. You can kind of see it there with it focusing back and forth between the two. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let it sit, let my air bubbles clear out like they're supposed to, and then once it gets a little thick, then I'm going to place this in there, but I'm going to place it in a way to where it's at an angle, to where it's halfway in, halfway out. Okay, so we've let it sit for a little bit. We let it cure. Wow, that looks great. It already looks fantastic. Look how clear that is. It basically looks like you're looking directly at the leaf. It just looks amazing. Yep. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our little flower here, and all we're going to do, we're going to make sure we got it real nice like, and we're just going to place it right exactly where we want it. Here. Right there. And you can adjust it a little bit as you feel the need to. There we go. Nice. Okay, so before we get back to where we're going, I want to give a shout out to Zara. Always up in here, always messing stuff up and trying to eat my stuff. That's Zara, everybody. See the ripples? It just looks so cool. But yeah, biggest thing is this is gonna get really, really hot. That's how it cures. So my method of doing this is to take it while it's still curing, put the cap over top of it, make sure it's closed pretty decently, and throw it in the fridge or the freezer. Shit's all real nice. Just leave it. Looks pretty cool. But yep, so it actually takes a while for it to like want 100% cure, so I don't want to pop it out and then, you know, completely mess it up. Obviously, it's going to take a long time, so I will show you guys what it looks like once I take it out of the casing next video. At the beginning of the next video, I'll pull it out and show you guys what it came out to. But for now, that'll be all. Y'all have a fantastic weekend. Thanks for watching.